Before the break, we told you that the results of a pre-fight blood test forever changed Tommy's destiny. Doctors said the test showed he was HIV positive, so the fight was canceled.
I just never bought into it. You know, they told me I had this. I didn't buy it. I mean, there's no way. I'm like the least likely person to ever, you know. Nobody could believe that they made a mistake. And they're telling me how, you know, you could literally die before you get to your car. That's what they told me. And I felt fine. I mean, all these, they're like, you're gonna start developing this, you're gonna get thrush, you're gonna get lumps in your chest, and it just never happened. You know, I don't know how many doctors told me I was gonna die.
Tommy says he doesn't have and never has been infected with HIV.
Back then, the tests were very unreliable, you know. And just because you've been exposed to something doesn't mean you're infected, you know. When you're exposed to something, your body kicks in and builds up antibodies to keep it in check. Well, the test that they give you is an antibody test. It's not a virus test, you know. I mean, back then, you know, they just pick up an antibody, you know, and the medical field split down the middle on that issue. You know, some doctors believe that you can be exposed without being infected. And here's the deal with the tests: I can take 3 in a row, and they're all negative. Then I'll take one that'll show up positive.
One of the explanations is that Tommy may be an outlier. Doctors are currently studying a group of people who may test positive, yet never actually develop the disease. An article on this very topic was recently published in this Newsweek magazine. Tommy says another possibility is that the tests aren't measuring the right thing. He's done extensive research on the subject and says he believes you can have the antibodies without actually having the virus. But those are things doctors never even considered back then.
Nobody was willing to listen to me.
The award-winning documentary House of Numbers focuses on this topic as well.
Good right hands. And now Morrison to the corner. And Mercer's all over him. And Morrison in trouble. And Morrison goes down for the first time in his career.
With no one willing to fight him, Tommy did the only thing he could do. On February 9th, 1996, he retired.
Tommy Morrison's being told the fight is over. He's still telling him he wants to go on and fight, yet he doesn't realize the fight's over. That's how hard a punches he took.
I made an announcement. I stepped down off the stage, grabbed my wife by the hand, and I drove home 1 hour to Jay, Oklahoma. And they erected these signs for, you know, they wanted to put these signs saying that I lived. They had those things chainsawed down before I got back to Jay. I got helicopters flying over my house. You know, all these news channels and stuff are waiting out by the security gate. Every time I would drive, you know, they'd run up with their microphones, photographer climbing the trees, trying to take pictures of me. You know, all this crazy stuff. And I mean, that was a little overwhelming, you know.
Those who had been cheering him on, those who were his friends, those who loved being associated with him, now acted as if he didn't exist.
Probably the first 5 or 6 years that I retired, you know. I mean, everywhere I went, people were terrified of me.
So the man everyone wanted now became almost invisible.
Nobody wanted to be around me. You know, it's like walk into a room, people are like, hide the children. You know, I mean, it was very dark. When you're alone and not in the right frame of mind, you know, the devil puts thoughts in your mind. You know, now all of a sudden my career's over. Can't do anything. Well, I'm gonna party for a while.
Having taken everything away, Tommy began looking to other things to fill the hole inside him.
You know, I went through a drug phase, you know, for probably 4 or 5 month period there. You know, I'm doing a lot of drugs and not eating and shrinking up, and people thought I was dying. That was seemed like that was easier to exist. You know, when I was psychologically numb. You know, I mean, I didn't care anymore. You know, and that was the only. You know, and then I looked in the mirror one day and I thought, my God. I mean, I've seen some pictures, pictures of myself back then, you know, that were taken. And man, I look like I was a walking dead man.
The same attributes that got him to the top of the boxing world were now being used to slowly destroy him.
You know, I've been an overachiever in a lot of different arenas, and you know, I have a high tolerance for things.
During that period, things just got worse and worse.
It was about a month and a half after I was clean that I got in trouble and had to go to prison.
That after officers found cocaine and a gun in the automobile Tommy was driving. While serving his 2-year sentence, Tommy spent a lot of time in solitary confinement.
Well, altogether, I was in like for 14 months, 8 days, 6 hours, and 46 minutes.
Not that you were counting.
Not that I kept track or anything.
How did that change you? How did that experience change you?
Well, it probably saved my life now that I think back on it, because even though I was out not doing drugs anymore, I was still hanging around that crowd. You know, lightness and darkness can't occupy the same space. You know, when lightness comes in, darkness has got to leave, and I guess that's kind of what happened in my heart. You know, I just don't want to be around it anymore.
Not only is he alive and well, he's finding new and more positive ways to channel his talents.
And I'm going to work with him over here for a few minutes. You know, you live and learn, and you know, I'm a young 40. I think I'm a 30-year-old trapped in a 40-year-old body. You don't grow as an individual until you face these different types of adversity come at you, and you conquer them. You know, because that right there builds you up inside, makes you feel like you can do anything. I haven't tapped into what I'm supposed to be doing yet, and I really don't think I've even scratched the surface on what I'm supposed to do in this world.
One of the things he hopes to pass on is his passion for fighting.
And when you have a talent like that, once you quit doing it yourself, you know, it's your obligation to pass it on to your kid or to whoever wants to learn it.
But it's not just the physical talents he's learned that he hopes to pass on. Tommy also hopes to pass on his life experience by becoming a motivational speaker.
He realized that they're looking at me. I was handed a death sentence, told to get out of the way, go somewhere and die. Yes, sir. And I'm just lucky that I lived through it. Now I have an amazing story to tell. And if I can go out there and if I go to a high school and I get through to one child, just one, then you've done your job. You know, you've saved that person's life pretty much just by, because there's nothing that a high school kid or even a college kid could even imagine that I haven't already done. I think I'll feel more fulfilled when I'm doing that than that emptiness I had after I accomplished something that most people never dream of. It was in the paper in terms of, you know, all the different high crime neighborhoods, and 256 right there and 264 is like the worst of the worst, and that's right in this area.
In order to help kids trapped in this high crime neighborhood, Tommy started the Tommy the Duke Morrison Children's Foundation. Money raised by the foundation will be used to help children train to become boxers here at the TCB gym.
You know, I mentor to these kids all the time, you know, and it's an awesome feeling, you know. I feel like, you know, it's just an unbelievable way to give back.
You could have located this anywhere. Why here?
Well, because it needed it, you know, and it was right here where I'm living. It's an awesome opportunity. It's great for this community, and I think it's really going to get a lot of kids off the street.
The streets in an area that gets the highest number of 911 calls in the city.
In these type of neighborhoods, that's where fighters, champions come from. You know, they don't come out of Beverly Hills. You know, I mean, these kids, you know, they grew up hardcore, and that's where you take a certain amount of tenacity, you know, and natural born toughness to be a fighter. There's going to be a world champion come out here at some point. I mean, there will. All they need is a place to develop. I'm going to find me 2 or 3 kids that are dedicated, and I'd like to take them all the way to the top. I mean, that's what they did with Oscar De La Hoya, with Tiger Woods. I mean, it can be done. Anybody can do it, but you got to invest some time. You know, there's going to be some years involved there. You know, you got to build a relationship with this kid. You know, he's got to trust you. You got to trust him, and you know, along that way, you know, you teach them morals, you teach them etiquette, you teach them, you know, you help them grow up. You know, you mentor to them. I mean, it's, you know, what I wished I would have had. And I'm put here for a reason. I think we grow from, you know, having to overcome adversity, which is what I've been, that should be my middle name. I'm excited about where it took me. You know, I wish I would have handled some things a little different along the way, but, you know, you live and learn. You know, I'm a different person now than I used to be. I just can't believe, you know, how I was at one point in my life as opposed to how I am now. You know, it's just like, this doesn't even seem real. It seems like a book I read or something, or a movie I'd watched. It's certainly not a way I would want any of my children to grow up, you know, I mean, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because it's our experiences that we deal with in our life that mold us into the person that we are.
Tommy's grandfather isn't the only famous person in Tommy's family. Tommy is also the great-grandnephew of actor John Wayne. If you want to know more about Tommy's life, look for his book called Unfinished Business. You can also contact Tommy at TommyTheDukeMorrison@yahoo.com. He answers every email he receives. If you know someone who has a successful, inspirational, or motivational story to tell, well, we want to know about it too. We've made it very easy for you to tell us. You can go to one of these websites, or you can contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or you can even send us a letter. Be sure to give us a name and number where we can reach them and tell us what they're doing that you think makes them so special. Thanks for watching It's All Good. I'm Sierra Scott. If you have a dream you think will make the world better, don't let anything stop you.
It's All Good with Sierra Scott.